Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Hurricane Watch Team is here with a tropical weather update. We're going to go over some of these storms. We're going to talk about Tropical Storm 11, 13, Taliah, Tropical Depression 92P, as well as Tropical Storm 15. We're going to go over all of these, including the models, and what we're going to be looking at the forecasts, as well as any areas that they could be impacting and how to prepare for them. So, first off, we're going to start off by talking about Tropical Storm 11. Here's the latest at 1200 UTC, the second day of February 2025. Currently located at 19 degrees south, 55 degrees east. Air pressure 997 millibars, 35 knots, about 40 miles an hour. It was formerly known as Invest 93S. Here's the latest satellite imagery of Tropical Storm 11. Not super duper organized. It's been dealing with some shear. But I think as this storm gets closer to Madagascar, I think the last 24 to 36 hours before it makes landfall in Madagascar, I really think that's when we could really see the storm really organize and undergo some intensification. It won't become a hurricane. It won't be anything super intense. But it will be a little bit stronger than what it is now. Overall, looking at the forecast tracks from some of these models, again, it's expected to go over Madagascar in about 36 hours or so. In about 3 days, we expect to be emerging into the Straits of Madagascar. It will then re-intensify to tropical storm status, and we will see later on, about a week from 5 days from now or so, we expect there to be some landfall there in Mozambique, which will bring lots of heavy rain and lots of life-threatening flash flooding. What are we looking at in terms of intensity? Now, this is the forecast track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Again, here it is, the 2nd of February at 1200 UTC. As you can see, there's 35 knots. It is expected to intensify, and it is expected to even reach 50 knots there prior to making landfall there in Madagascar. Now, I do want to show y'all what our forecast track is here at the for the Hurricane Watch Team, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about our forecast track and a little bit about what our predictions are. There we go. So here is this is our latest forecast track. This isn't from an official organization. This is from the Hurricane Watch Team. So again, and we do expect, right now it's about 35 knots, about 40 miles an hour. We do expect over the next several couple of days, we will continue to see intensification up to around landfall at about 24 hours out from now. We will see that. We might see a little bit of weakening actually before landfall, but as the storm does approach, we will see it. It will be much stronger than it is now. It might be a little bit farther south of the forecast track, but overall central to northern portions of Madagascar, we'll see a lot of the heavier rain and perhaps some flooding as well. It will then expected to be weakened to a depression, as you can see here, and then emerge and speed up over the Straits of Madagascar. We do expect it to intensify. We could see 45 to 50 miles per hour after it makes landfall in Mozambique. So that is the storm when dealing with Tropical Storm 11. Now looking at, again, I'm going to go over all of these as well as the forecast models as well. This is Tropical Storm 13. This is the one that is going to intensify and be pretty strong. However, it is not expected to be and have any sort of impacts to land. Zero impacts. There's a pretty good chance that this storm could actually become a hurricane, a cyclone, or a hurricane. Very good chance, as well as even a slight chance of it becoming major Category 3 or stronger. Very cold temperatures in terms of the clouds. So there's a lot of deep convection. There's a little gap right here where we aren't seeing any convection. There could be some dry air. A little bit of dry air intrusion right there. Not a whole lot, but there is a little bit. But there is an entire, it is completely closed off. We're going to see some more convection over here. I do want to take a look at visible. Just curious if there's any sort of wind shear. Yeah, I'm not seeing too much. A little bit of wind shear you can see up here. A little bit of wind shear, which is causing it to struggle a little bit there in terms of really intensifying. But again, as the storm continues to move farther off towards the west and southwest, it will still remain in very, very warm sea surface temperatures. However, there really won't be a whole lot of, there won't be any weakening, it won't be strengthening as the conditions for the storm will continue to improve. I will mention that the good news about this is that the storm will not, again, this storm as well as this other storm that we're going to be talking about, Taliah, will not be impacting land. Now, speaking of Taliah, it's really begun to organize pretty quickly, and it's actually almost hurricane strength here, of almost Category 1 right there. And it is expected to become a pretty strong system. I just wanted to mention, take a look at some of these sea surface temperatures off the coast of Australia. We're looking 31 to 30, looks like about 32, that might be at 32.5 degrees right through here, right along the coastline right there. But where this is, we're looking about 30, 31 degrees Celsius where the storm is. It will move away as the conditions do improve. It will really intensify, but as the storm makes its way into more waters that are cooler, later on, that is when it will hit its peak and it will begin to weaken because of cooler sea surface temperatures. Again, there it is at 1002 millibars. I do expect its air pressure to drop quite a bit. Excuse me, that's the wrong air pressure. I was like, that seems kind of high. That's the environmental pressure, excuse me. The air pressure is at 983, 60 knots, 1002 for the environment. Here is the latest satellite imagery. So we are getting a little bit of dry air, but again, as the storm continues to move up towards the west, I do expect there to be the conditions to improve for the storm to intensify. What I wanted to also mention with this system is it will not bring any impacts to land. The minimal to any impacts will only be rip currents for portions of Australia and Indonesia. Those will be the main impacts that we will see to looking at Australia and portions of Indonesia. Once again, moving away from Australia and Indonesia, it's going to intensify over the next few days. We do expect that peak to be, it really looks like 24 to 36 hours from now, we could really actually see that peak. So we're really going to see a ramp up intensification, and then we'll start to see that trend downwards as it moves into more unfavorable conditions. Again, here's the latest forecast track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Again, currently initiated at 60 knots. It is expected to reach close there at 100 knots as of the 4th at 0Z. And the 4th at 0Z, we expect 100 knots with winds gusting of 125 knots. Yeah, we're talking 140, 145 mile an hour wind gusts with this storm. So we're going to see this storm intensify and be actually pretty intense and pretty strong. So it will look really good on satellite imagery. Again, all good news, zero impacts to land, which is the best news that we can get. Tropical depression 92P, as well. It is over very warm sea surface temperatures, 1002 millibars, 25 knots. Here's the latest satellite imagery. Again, we're looking at pretty much disorganized, quite a bit of shear, no organization. I don't really think they're really, again, they're not expecting the storm to intensify into anything as it moves away. Again, these are, I don't know why I'm still showing this. I don't even really think the storm actually exists anymore. It's just completely falling apart at this point. And then here we got this for Tropical Storm 15. There it is. Again, here's the latest forecast track. About 40 knots. There could be some more intensification, a little bit more intensification, but not a whole lot more. We could see maybe, reaching 50 miles an hour. Again, heavy rain and flooding is certainly going to be a possibility, but nothing too terrible. Again, that is the extent of the 34 knots. Wind field about 40 miles an hour. So you're certainly seeing some gusty winds in those islands, but no super powerful, damaging winds. Not a powerful system at all, but certainly some heavy rain and probably some flooding is certainly going to be an impact. So those are the systems. I'm going to go over the tropical tidbits, and we're going to talk a little bit and do an overview and look into the forecast tracks for these systems. Taking a look at the GFS for Taliah, just really kind of curious about overall intensity and how strong this storm will get. This is expected to become a pretty strong system. So again, 90 knots of the, I think a lot of these forecasts and models are kind of underestimating how strong the storm is going to get. I do think this storm could become quite a pretty strong system for sure. H-Wharf, here is the H-Wharf parent. And it also shows it, so if we go to the current hour, we know what its intensity is. And that's already off. It's already, it's showing 983 millibars as the correct air pressure. However, the maximum winds are not true. We're seeing actually much closer to almost a hurricane right now. And it really doesn't show, it won't even hit 60 knots for like another day. So we may actually see the storm becoming much stronger than what they're anticipating. I do think this system is going to be pretty strong, pretty intense. And again, pretty much all these systems, again, they're not really going to, they will not be, there won't be any actual impacts to land or anything. See if the Euro PML is showing. Let's just go to another SOZ. Nothing. Uh, 13S, again, with this system, as you can see, it is expected to intensify. 13S, isn't that? No, I'm thinking of 11S. 11S is the storm that's going to impact Mozambique. So this shows 36 hours, but that just shows it just sort of completely falls apart as it approaches. I don't think it'll fall apart quite that quickly, because it shows it doesn't even make a landfall as a tropical storm. I mean, there it is, landfall 24 knots. I do think that is a little bit excessive of weakening, for sure. I think it's going to weaken that much. I do think we could see some weakening, and then it shows very little. It's kind of all over the place here, but as you can see right here, a little bit of intensity strengthening. It just kind of goes all over the place. It doesn't really know what's happening with the system. The H-Wharf is just the H-Wharf is just really kind of all over the place with the system. I really don't tend to look at the models too much, and especially if I already have a general idea of what's going to happen with these storms. So like if you see with 11S, we already have a general idea of what's going to happen, how strong it's going to get. Expect about 50 knots or so, and then some weakening before landfall. We'll really get a better idea. And then we'll really get a better idea as we get closer. And we'll just have to really monitor and watch the system as it moves inland. But again, it looks like a landfall. It'll be early morning for me, it'll be 12Z the 4th. We will try to do a coverage of the storm when it makes landfall, but we'll also be talking about other systems as well. But when that storm makes landfall, we'll mainly be talking about this system and its impacts to Madagascar, and then later down the line, Mozambique and its impacts. So again, Taliah is the strongest of these systems right now. Again, no impacts really expected for Australia. There it is. Really going to just ramp up over the next several days with this system. And then again, moving away and weakening. Just want to go through these models here, take a look in terms of what we're seeing. This is 168 hours out. Still trying to show something. I've been trying to show something over here in a couple of weeks, in a week or so from of something trying to develop, but nothing has really become really organized yet. Just kind of going all the way through the future to see if we see anything else with this particular model. Again, certainly the possibility we could certainly see some activity there off the northeast coast of Australia. The GFS, the European model does show that model there really showing it becoming quite an intense system, but nothing really else developing there for the areas of Australia. In terms of the Indian Ocean, let's take a look at what we have going for the Indian Ocean. So again, those are those two systems that we are closely monitoring and watching. This system, again, is going to strengthen, maybe some weakening before landfall in Madagascar. Lots of flame from Madagascar and Mozambique. We'll be doing some live coverage of that system. But from what I see here, again, those systems just no impacts to land. Looks very, very, very good in terms of what we're going to see with those not being impactful towards land. And then I want to take a look at this system as this model gets a better idea of where systems will go and the overall trend that we are going into. And they did a pretty good job with pointing into the direction of us moving into an active period for the South Indian Ocean. So again, it doesn't really show much strengthening from where this system is at right now, 11S, but it does show a pretty good general idea of where we could make landfall. But it does show it does redevelop and reorganize in over the Straits of Madagascar. That's all I really wanted to talk about. Is those are the systems we're watching. Those are the systems that we are monitoring. Again, here is the latest satellite emerging tropical cyclone Taliah. Again, we will continue to update y'all. Continue to watch and follow us on Instagram. We have Patreon now. Excuse me, not Instagram. I meant to say Blue Sky. On Blue Sky and Patreon, as well as our Discord. You can talk to us on Discord. Ask us any questions that y'all may have about any tropical cyclones, and we will have someone there who will respond to you. That's gonna do it for today. I wanted to just do a quick video update. Talk about we're moving into a pretty active period for the South Indian Ocean. Those two major storms will not be any impacting. 11S will bring some heavy rain and flooding to Madagascar as well as Mozambique. We will continue to update y'all on these systems as they continue to develop. As always, this is the Hurricane Watch Team, your source for cyclone information. As always, stay safe and peace out.